and welcome to CMC Roundtable. Today's topic would be China Maldives friendship as we are marking the 50th anniversary of the diplomatic relations between the two countries. Before we get to the discussions, I'd like to introduce our panel members first. Hello, Moho, Mal, Toyo, welcome to the CMC Roundtable. As we're talking about the diplomatic relations between two countries, we know the relations go back to the long, long way. Toyo, could you please give me some highlights about the relations?
Thank you, Shaha, for that warm introduction. Firstly, I'd like to say that the relations between China and Maldives was established on 14 October 1972. So this year, October marks the 50th anniversary to these relations. However, I'd like to point out that China-Maldives relations extend far beyond this century. In fact, it goes back to the 1300s or the 1400s when in the Ming Dynasty rule of China, merchant fleets and commercial fleets were sent to the Maldives on two occasions by the Chinese emperor. Likewise, in 1416, the Maldivian Sultan Yusuf, also sent emissaries and envoys to China to pay tribute. So, if you go to the National Museum of the Maldives, you see on display Chinese coins and Chinese porcelain, which just demonstrates these relations. In fact, after the establishment of these relations in 1972, Maldives has always been a close friend of China in terms of foreign policy. For instance, the Maldives recognizes the One China policy and is a key partner in the Belt and Road Initiative. So, in a nutshell, these relations look fruitful and it goes way beyond the 50th year that we are marking this year.
Exactly. So, as we talk about the diplomatic relations between the two countries, what do you think how many Maldivian presidents have made their official visit to China during the 50th 50 years of diplomatic relations?
Good question, Shaha. I've read the news lately, and President Ibu Solih, he met the Chinese ambassador recently, and successfully all of our presidents, they visited to China, starting from President Mamoun Abdul Gayoom to President Yamin, and we are hoping that President Ibrahim Solih will also visit China.
Maybe after China opens up.
Yes, hopefully.
So, how do you think these official visits of our presidents have benefited our people as a whole?
It benefits our country in certain ways to establish the strong relation between both the countries. So, for example, most of the infrastructure, support, funds, and help we get from China. So, because of our strong relation, it will help to further enhance the diplomatic relations between the country as a whole.
So, are there any tangible results of the 50 years of diplomatic relations between China and Maldives?
Thank you, Shah. There have been a lot of tangible benefits we have witnessed over the 50 years. For instance, the first Maldivian social housing project was undertaken by the Chinese. This was after the tsunami, I believe. Thereafter, we've seen a steady increment over the years in terms of infrastructure projects that have been undertaken. Since the Maldives is a partner in the Belt and Road Initiative, the Maldives has been the beneficiary of many Chinese projects. This includes the bridge project that was completed in the last administration. So, personally speaking, I used to commute to Male from Male every day on a ferry. This will normally encounter myself waking up early in the morning around 5:30 or 4:30 just to commute to work, and I had to also come back and repeat the same instances. So, personally speaking, the bridge has been a miracle for
Yeah.
not just myself but a lot of others like me. The Maldives is isolated by islands, so we have to travel by ferries and seagoing vessels. But this has dramatically changed with the introduction of the bridge. This is just one major project that has enhanced the relations between both countries in terms of economic growth. The Maldives is a developing country, and China is one of the biggest economies in the world. So these relations they will eclipse over the years in terms of trade and economic exchange.
And talking about the bridge, it's actually one of the biggest mega projects ever to be
Yes.
happened in Maldives, right? And like Tola said, kids today would never understand the
Yeah.
struggle of going on ferry. I mean, I actually went with the same experience. When I was doing my TB in Kurmale, I had to wake up 1 hour before and go by ferry. It takes around 15 minutes, is it?
Yeah, normally 20 to 30
20 to
minutes
30
might
minutes.
also be encountered.
It is one of the most unique framework that was ever built. I have previously watched some interviews about some of the Chinese who helped to build the bridge, and they said it's one of their most unique experiences because normally in China they used to build bridges over the rivers, but in here because of the seabed and the waves, it's a big struggle for them. So actually the bridge was about to be opened on 26th July on 2018, but because of the hardship that they had to undergo to build the bridge, the date of opening was delayed, but still all the Chinese, they made it a success. So till date, it remains as one of the best project that was ever built.
I think that a lot of people actually had a hard time believing that it would be actually possible. I mean, up till the opening of the bridge, even I thought, oh, is this bridge?
Yeah, even the
Is it
French,
really going to be
they
open?
did a survey before. Even they felt like they couldn't do it, but Chinese, they helped us build this mega project.
So must have been a whole different experience for them. We see in the Maldives a lot of Chinese tourists. What do you think Maldives has become one of the most popular tourist destinations for the Chinese tourists?
Actually, not only in China, in all over the world, Maldives is one of the most popular tourist destinations. And for Maldives, Chinese tourists visit more than any country um, over the years, right? Have visited, and I think it's because of our close relationship between the two countries, and also um, uh, the talking about the weather. I think the people in China actually loves the weather in Maldives rather than over there because talking about my own experience, I have visited China 2 times, and one was during the winter. It was really cold, and I didn't quite like it. I mean, it was an adventurous experience, but I think I would prefer a hotter weather. So I think that's one of the main reasons, and also, like I said, the relationship between the two people is really important. And Victoria would like to add to this.
Yeah, I'd also say that the Maldives is a global destination. So in that regard, China is also a key partner when it comes to the Maldives tourist industry. Um, the Maldives has wonderful flora and fauna, both marine and on land. So each tourist that visits the Maldives will encounter these natural wonders, and I think that is why the Maldives has become a globally renowned brand in terms of tourism, and the Maldives will have a steady increment from tourists from across the globe.
So, how did China become one of our closest trading partners?
China is one of the biggest economies in the world. It is a huge trading partner for many countries, countries in the African continent as well as in Europe as well. So in that regard, China is one of the biggest manufacturers in the world. It is a manufacturing hub. So the Maldives, being a country that is heavily dependent on imports, will obviously import goods. So China has become naturally one of the biggest trading partners of the world of the Maldives, because the Maldives has been importing these goods from China.
So we talked about cultural exchanges, even our own personal experiences, our visits to China as well. Talking about cultural exchanges, how do you think have the numbers have increased? The people who study Chinese language in the Maldives during the last 20 years, over the last 20 years.
So, the, okay. What was the question? Ask the question again. Ananda.
So, do you think the number of students who are studying Chinese language in Maldives have increased over the last 20 years?
I think yes, because back in the day there was not much of an opportunity for students who wants to go to China. But they didn't have the resources and the funding to go there. Most of us, but now in time there are Maldivian scholars who actually went to China and learned the language and actually made connections with the people and with the universities. They can help us or the students today get scholarships and funding and admission in renowned colleges in China. One of the there are even many NGOs like our own NGO, China Maldivian Cultural Association. We help students from Maldives to go to China, learn their language, learn their way of living, and come back here and teach the same or work to increase the relationship between the two countries. So yes, I think that it increased vastly over the years because now we have these types of opportunities. But even today, most of us are actually not aware of these opportunities, and I think it would increase much further if students today are much more aware or if they are more interested in these languages. It could start off with the school days, isn't it? They could, I think, in Maldives, are there any schools that teaches Chinese?
Good question, Moho. In Maldives National University, there was a course that a lot of students took part in where they studied the Chinese language. As we know, Chinese language is one of the most unique language. It has more than thousands of symbols. So it takes a lot of time to learn it. And if we gain such a knowledge and if we learn such a language, I think it's actually going to help us very much. Like Toil mentioned, a lot of tourists they visit our country, millions and millions of Chinese. So if we learn our language, we can actually help our tertiary sector as well. So yeah, I feel like it's very important to learn such a rich language. It's not going to help ourselves, but also the country as a whole, I would say.
Have any of you tried learning Chinese language though?
Well, I got the chance to visit China as well, but unfortunately, it's a little difficult for me to learn the language. But it's a very interesting language to learn, and I look forward into learning more of it.
How about you?
Yeah, I'd also say that the language barrier is a big barrier in terms of getting your point across. So if we learn both languages, Maldivians learning Chinese and Chinese learning the Maldivian language, this would obviously help establish and foster these relations to a new level. So as Moho mentioned, I believe people to people relations are important. So it's not just the government to government relations that have been fostered over the years between the China and Maldives, but people to people relations as well. If we learn Chinese, we can obviously foster these relations to a new level by actively understanding each other better.
As we talk about Chinese language, do you think people who speak Chinese language in Maldives are optimally being used in the tourism industry?
Thank you, Shah. I believe that there is a long way to go. Maldivians have to actively undertake this educational experience when it comes to linguistics of Chinese. In that regard, I believe that there has been a steady increment over the years. Many of my friends have learned how to speak Chinese and are well versed. Some of my Chinese friends and people who I know would take a keen interest in learning the Liwei language. So I believe that learning Chinese will help a lot in terms of facilitating and being utilized in the industries that we have been trying to flourish in the Maldives. The Maldives is a heavily tourist dependent country, but over the years, the Maldives has gradually started shifting its focus into other industries as well, although that might not be realized as of yet. So, if we are to expand our economy into other sectors, we should be learning other languages as well, and Chinese is one of the main languages that we should be focusing on, considering that China would in near future overtake the largest economy in the world and effectively materialize itself into being the largest economy.
Yeah, and might I add to that? So actually, people who speak Chinese, they're actually in really big, huge demand in the sector of tourism in Maldives because, as we all know, thousands and thousands of tourists come from China every year to Maldives, and in order to speak to them, understand them, and to interact with them, we need to have a proper understanding of Chinese language. And learning Chinese language, it's actually a little bit complex than other languages, and it's really hard without undergoing a proper
Yes.
education. And it's not how we learn. How can I say? For example, we Maldivians, most of us know Hindi from TV, watching drama
yes.
series, right? But it's not like that in Chinese because there are thousands and many difficulties. Because even one variation would mean a whole different thing. So yes, I think it's
Yeah,
really
talking about drama series, our NGO has done a lot of contributions to promote the Chinese language. Yeah, and also our NGO, we are trying to learn the language more effectively, how to use it, the skills. That is something that we have to. It takes a lot of time to learn a certain skill, and I am sure through learning the language, we can actually help to enhance the friendship even more.
Exactly. So this year we are marking the 50th anniversary of the diplomatic relations between China and Maldives. What do you think we can further enhance and strengthen the relations between the two countries?
Well, for one thing, we could effectively strengthen the people-to-people relations. We should be conducting more cultural exchanges. We should be educating each other more on each other's culture, heritage, and other ancillary services as well to be factored into this equation. The Maldives government and the Chinese government have always been friends in the geopolitical arena. As I mentioned earlier, Maldives recognizes the One China policy and is a key partner in the Belt and Road Initiative. So, in this regard, the Maldives will continue playing this role as an ally to the Chinese administration. So, in future, I believe and I assume that these relations will go to a new level in terms of exchange of bilateral relations.
Now, any thoughts?
Yes, I agree with what say, I believe it's the effort of both of our countries that is going to help us further strengthening the relationship between our countries. So we should actually focus on our young generation by giving them more opportunities. Say, for example, when we were in university, we were offered to go to China from our NGO. So just like that, we could give more offers to people all over the Maldives, and it would help to open our mind to different cultures. The exposure is actually going to really help to strengthen the bond between the countries.
Actually, I agree with Malsad because before I went to China, I had a whole different understanding and a whole different perspective of China. And during my first visit in 2017, it's opened my eyes to a whole new culture, whole new way of living, whole new language, and I liked it actually because their way of living is so different from us. It's something that we were not exposed to during when we were young. We were not told about it, and I think everyone should see it firsthand.
Yes.
And in order to see it, we need to increase these people-to-people relations. And as we all know, a country is not its government or its political relations, but its people. Right? A country is its people, and the day we further strengthen the people to people relations between China and Maldives, I think that's the day where we can strengthen our relationship for the better.
Thank you, Toil and Moho. This has been a very insightful and very informative as well as very interesting discussion. Thank you for joining our roundtable discussions.
Thank you.
Thank you.